Namaste viewers, welcome to the Facebook live session. Today our topic for discussion is heavy menstrual bleeding in women, and for our discussion we have with us Dr. Nagavalli Srirangam, consultant and OPG, laparoscopic surgeon and fertility specialist from Apollo Hospitals DRDO Hyderabad. Welcome doctor for the live session.
Namaste.
Before we move to the session, let's know a little bit about doctor. Dr. Nagavalli is a consultant in gynec and OBG, working at Apollo Hospitals, also trained for high-risk OBG and laparoscopic surgeon with experience of 10 years in this field. So dear viewers, now let us start the session. Please leave your questions in the comments. Dr. Nagavalli would answer them during the live session. What is heavy menstrual bleeding and how do they present?
Namaste. So, before talking about heavy menstrual bleeding, we should first understand what normal menstrual bleeding is. It is individualized. It varies from person to person. A cycle length of 21 to 35 days is normal. And if the woman has bleeding for 4 to 7 days, it is normal. And if she has amount of 10 to 80 ml for particular cycle, that is considered to be normal. So anything less or more than this is abnormal. Our topic of interest, heavy menstrual bleeding, is considered when she is having bleeding once in every 21 days, or she is bleeding for more than 7 days, or if she is having more than 80 ml of blood loss for that particular cycle, yes, then it is considered to be heavy menstrual bleeding.
How can we assess the flow?
There are many methods how to assess it, but for us to understand, if it depends on how many pads you are changing. If it is more than 3 pads or per day, or if your pad is completely getting soaked, or if you are passing clots, it is a telltale sign that you are having heavy menstrual bleeding.
What can be their complaints?
They can present with pain or without pain, it depends, and the clots will be there, and they might be changing many pads per day. So these are the complaints they might have.
Is there any specific complaints?
Age specific complaints can be there. Any woman who is menstruating is at risk of heavy menstrual bleeding. So if we categorize them, they can be adolescent girls, reproductive aged women, perimenopausal ladies, and postmenopausal women. Anovulatory cycles are common in adolescent girls and in perimenopausal women.
What are the causes?
The causes can be structural causes or functional causes. There is an acronym for this. The structural causes are PALM and the functional causes are COIN. So it is PALM COIN. Any abnormal uterine bleeding, we categorize them under PALM COIN, the subsets of it. So the structural causes can be polyps, adenomyosis, leiomyomata, otherwise called fibroids in common terminology, and malignancy. All these come under structural causes. And the functional causes can be coagulopathies, ovulatory disorders, endometrial dysplasias, or iatrogenic, that is drug induced. If the patient is on any anticoagulants, they are at risk of having heavy menstrual bleeding, and others are non-specific. So these are all the causes of heavy menstrual bleeding.
Then how do we proceed now?
Proceeding now, again we have to go back to the history. Like I said, we have already concentrated on the age. Now comes the most important part of menstrual history. So I would suggest you to maintain a menstrual calendar. If you are having any of these problems, you try to maintain a menstrual calendar. So the points in that you have to highlight are when was your last period and the prior cycle, and in this particular period for how many days you are having the cycle, and when did it start, and on which days how many pads are you changing, and is there any complete soakage of the pad, and are you having pain or not, and if so, on which days, and did you pass any clots. So all this history has to be taken. And coming to the examination, it starts like how we routinely do. The vitals examination to see for if there is any tachycardia, pulse rate, increased pulse rate, and in the general examination we see for any organomegaly, or specifically for some conditions like if you are suspecting any coagulopathies, see for easy bruisability. That means if you have a minimal trauma, minimal stress also can result in skin discoloration, skin discolorated patches. So that is one indication that there is some coagulation disorder happening. And apart from this, we do the local examination, speculum examination, to see if we are able to see any polyps. Yeah.
So we have a question from audience, doctor. Many say after marriage this problem will subside. Is it true, doctor?
Sometimes that you are saying could be polycystic ovarian disease. It's a very common problem. Yes, any kind of stress will result in polycystic ovarian disease, and sometimes this crampy periods that you have prior to your marriage might get sometimes settled after you are married and you have kids. Yes, sometimes it works. Yeah.
What are the diagnostic tests they go for?
Yeah, so again going back to what we were discussing, in the diagnostic tests, again it starts with the some basic investigations are a norm for everyone, like complete blood count to see their baseline hemoglobin status, if they are anemic or not, and thyroid function tests and ultrasound. These form the baseline tests we have to do. Apart from this, we will have to add on.
Why do we do TSH profile?
Thyroid profile is very important because hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, any of them, either if you have a low TSH value or a high TSH value, can result in heavy menstrual bleeding, and it is very easily treatable cause. So we definitely include it in our baseline screening.
Is there any other diagnostic test, ma'am?
Like I said, there are so many factors, structural and functional. So it all depends on what we are dealing with. If when we have taken a proper history, we'll be able to highlight what we have to look at now. So if we are suspecting coagulopathies, we'll do the coagulation disorders like bleeding time, clotting time, and coagulation profile. And if we think that it is because of iatrogenic, we'll have to go back and see what drugs she is on. And apart from these tests, if we are suspecting malignancy or if she had undergone diagnostic hysteroscopy for some reason, if you are suspecting malignancy, yes, we might have to do MRI also.
So should we worried about pregnancy related issues?
Definitely. Any menstruating woman, she is at risk of pregnancy. So once she had a history of prior amenorrhea, followed by which she is having heavy flow, if she is presenting more so acutely for that particular period, then we should definitely rule out pregnancy, because in that woman the line of management altogether changes. There is no medical management at that time because she might be in stress also, acute blood loss also. So yeah, pregnancy has to be ruled out.
What treatment option do we have?
Treatment option starts with oral medications. We start with them progesterones, cyclically or continuously. And apart from progesterones, we can also add on to the tranexamic acid. It's an antifibrinolytic, and it also depends on how she is presenting, acute, chronic, or acute on chronic. So if she is presenting acutely, first thing is we have to definitely rule out the pregnancy, and if it is ruled out, we can manage them with a high dose of progesterones. And norethisterone is a drug that really helps in these cases with a high dose starting like 30 milligrams per day. Yes, in most of the cases the bleeding stops, and if it is not stopping, then maybe we'll have to do therapeutic DNC. But ideally speaking, at this point of time, yes, nobody is doing therapeutic DNC. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on Mirena?
Mirena. So coming to Mirena, it is a wonder drug actually. Mirena is a intrauterine system. It is like a copper T. It has a medication in that embedded into it. So it will be releasing that drug at a particular level every day. The whole problem of this heavy menstrual bleeding is because the innermost layer of the uterus, that is endometrium, it forms and it sheds. So that is happening. So when it is forming more, it also sheds more naturally. So this Mirena stops it from growing. So it always keeps the endometrium at a base level. Because it is at base level, there is no further shedding. So as many as 60% of the women might have proper amenorrhea if we take after 1 year time. And apart from this, Mirena also helps you in correcting anemia, and it keeps, if there are any small fibroids, yes, it also helps in reducing the further growth of the fibroid. And in some cases of endometriosis, mild cases of endometriosis, yes, it might help if you are not planning to have pregnancy, because Mirena also gives you contraceptive protection.
Can you tell us about the hysteroscopy?
Hysteroscopy is a procedure where we look into the endometrial cavity. So it is not DNC, it is different from DNC. Dilatation and curettage is a blind procedure. We don't know what we are looking at. Take for example, a woman comes into our OPD with heavy bleeding, and in the scan she had thickened endometrium. So in two instances, when we do hysteroscopy, if we are able to see a polyp also, because ultrasound can only give you a finding of thickened endometrium, will not be able to sometimes highlight if there is a polyp or not. In those cases, if we do hysteroscopy in the same sitting, we can do the operative hysteroscopy and we can clear the disease. So it becomes a single sitting to curative also. But if we are doing DNC, we might miss on those polyps. So DNC is a blind procedure. And apart from this, the duration of the hospital stay, or the time you take to give anesthesia, or the time you need to recover from it, are all similar. So yes, I would definitely suggest you to have hysteroscopy other than not DNC.
Doctor, what are the chances of recurrence of this problem?
It all depends on what we are looking at. See, for example, anovulatory adolescent girl. Let us go to adolescent girls. If it is an anovulatory cycle for them. In adolescent girls, once they started having their menstrual cycles, and the onset is called menarche. So after menarche, if we see, for them to have normal cycles takes some 3 to 4 years of time, because it is not just the uterus that is involved in the bleeding. It has to come from the brain to ovary to uterus. So there is a HPO axis. The maturity of HPO axis takes some time. So if we are dealing with the anovulatory cycles, yes, it takes some years to take care. And coming to the reproductive age women, if we are looking at polyps, yes, polypectomy is the treatment, and then you will not have any recurrences. The problem arises when we are dealing with endometrial dysplasias. If endometrial dysplasia is suspected, then they might not respond to the baseline treatment that we give. So then we might have to do biopsy, and this is more common in the perimenopausal age women. So biopsy, after biopsy, then we'll have to take a note of what we have to do further.
So few points on perimenopausal bleeding.
Perimenopausal bleeding, like I said, biopsy is very important, because if she is presenting as a chronic heavy menstrual bleeding or AUB, abnormal uterine bleeding, if she is having this kind of history, it means that there is some pathology in the endometrium. Just giving medication might treat the problem for that particular instance. Then she might have a recurrence again in the following cycle. So we should first know what we are dealing with. So endometrial biopsy has to be definitely done in this woman.
Any message you would like to give to the audience?
Yeah, I would like to take this opportunity to highlight about, it may not be related to this topic, but yes, about cervical cancer vaccination. It is ideally given to the girls before sexual activity begins, and the protection rate is almost 100%, and this is the only vaccine against cancer. So any adolescent girl more than 9 years till 30 years, yes, please go ahead and have this vaccination.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, we have come to the end of our session and hope we have covered all aspects. But if you still have more doubts, you can book an appointment with Dr. Nagavalli, either physical appointment or online appointment, and clarify your doubts. Links are given in the description. On just one click, you can click appointments. Thank you, doctor, for educating our audience in today's session. And thank you viewers joining us. Stay tuned for more such educative live sessions. Namaste.
Thank you.